Good evening, dandies. Welcome to Undetermined, the podcast.
We've had several people that have done Mike Watt.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
We need to get him.
Yeah, he has some energy. Woo!
Yeah.
That guy is a walking encyclopedia, and just I have such respect for him. And Minutemen were incredible. They were just young pups doing that music, and God, it's just cool. He's such a great guy too.
Yeah. Genius. Yeah, I'd love to have him on. It's kind of hard to get other people who have shows. I mean, just because it's such a commitment to do the show. Well, do podcasts all the time. It takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, he's doing 3 a week right now because of the downtime.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work, man. I don't know how you guys do it. I'm not organized enough to do something like this.
Yeah.
Well, availability has been better. I'll say that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Availability's been better, but in a lot of ways, we get a lot of people who are just kind of freaked out about everything that's going on right now. Right. They're like, I don't want my episode tainted with,
Yeah, it's really nerve-wracking, I'll tell you. I won't even tell you how much money I've lost.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really bad.
Well, we can talk about that.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, all the tours where, we should have just got back from Europe last week for round 2, and that was disheartening.
God, such a bummer. We're hearing that from everybody. Just like, we were supposed to be in Chicago last night. That's right.
Yep. Yeah.
That's sad.
I was supposed to be spending my 60th birthday in May on a flight from Melbourne, Australia to Hawaii for a gig. So instead I'm just here in my pad in Glendale, beautiful sunny Glendale. Which
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little less glamorous than, finishing an Australia, Japan, New Zealand, Tasmania tour and then ending in Hawaii, Well,
oh, man.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it's rough, man.
Yeah.
I just wait every week. We rescheduled that tour for November, but I'm nervous that it might not even happen then. Who knows? So
yeah, gosh, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But we'll talk about other things that we can do. But hey, before we get too far out, I just want to introduce you to everybody, so we at least have that sound snippet.
Yeah,
cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are really privileged, honored to have Mr. Paige Hamilton of Helmet fame joining us today on Undetermined Podcast. Paige, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We are really excited about this.
Cool.
Yes, we've been a big fan of yours for years. I think Betty was stuck in my CD player in my car for probably a good year.
That's good. Cool.
Back when I had that old Impala. Yeah. It was a shitbox car, but man, I had a stereo in it.
Priorities.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had the '69 Bug when I was in high school. So with that, I put the Jensen speakers in and my 8-track, so I could rock Average White Band and Jethro Tull.
Yeah,
that was the bomb, man. The heat was broken, so it was on all summer long.
Oh God.
But man, that stereo sounded good.
Yep. That's what mattered. I think I put it all on like a Sears credit card and defaulted on it.
That's actually how I started my home quote unquote studio. Was I'd gotten a credit card and I maxed it out with a drum machine, a 4-track Tascam, an SM57. I can't remember what else, and I started writing songs. And I couldn't pay the credit card bill, so I made a deal with my father, and I took out a loan from him,
Nice.
and I paid it off. Paid him back over, I don't know how long it took me, but yeah, that's familiar with that.
Oh yeah. It was many years ago. It's off my credit now. I don't care. I remember my friends being like, why do we have to go to Sears? Sears sucks for all this stuff.
Sears.
I was like, that's who approved me for the credit card. That's what we've got to go to.
That's great.
You still have the old 4-track?
I do actually. It's I just saw it. I just moved into this place in March, and I had a bunch of stuff in storage in Oregon, and my sister and brother-in-law niece kindly brought it down for me, and I found that Tascam. I have a hard time getting rid of it. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
And somewhere I have a box of tapes with a bunch of probably ideas on there.
Yeah.
I think probably in my place in New York, which I'm also giving up here pretty soon. And, yeah, those are cool. I learned so much, from having to bounce tracks and you get dial sounds. They're really, really cool machine. Tascam cassette 4-track. It's so exciting. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I can lay down a drum machine groove and then play along with it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
God, it's just so great to hear your ideas come together in the form of a song. So I used to really get into detail with the drum machine programming. I remember Roland. It was a little Roland drum machine. And yeah, it was fun. And then later it's like, well, just, a hi-hat, kick, snare, boom, chop, doom, chop, doom, chop.
Right.
I had such a great drummer. I'd be like, okay, this is 120 beats a minute, and you play 4, I'll play 3.
Yep, you can just pick that up. But now you grew up in you were talking about where you grew up in Medford, right?
Yeah, born in Portland, and they moved to Medford before my sister was born.
Okay.
How would you describe that, living in Medford?
There were a lot of, we call them goat ropers, kind of flatbed trucks, and the tree frogs. They'd sit out in high school by the trees and smoke cigarettes in their trucks, and they were not cool. Unfortunately, there was a lot of that sort of racism.
Yeah.
And since I got into music early on, and my heroes were blues guys like Led Zeppelin, turned me on to Willie Dixon, and from my guitar teacher, discovered George Benson and went into Miles. And so all my musical heroes, many of them were black. So there was that. But there was a small group of people that were cool and into music, and my friends, and it's a beautiful part of the country, just conservative. It wasn't like Portland. Portland was and is liberal, but so when you get there in the rest of the part of the state, it's I just always kept my mouth shut. Like you'd be in the barber shop, my local barber, who was a really cool guy, but you'd have all kinds of cowboys in there, and so I just keep my mouth shut when I was getting my hair cut. So, but then musically, we had an armory, and we had a fairgrounds, and that's where I saw my concerts. So I saw like Rush and Blue Oyster Cult and Black Oak, Arkansas, and
nice.
the Tubes, actually, who were banned after their one and only performance. And
oh, wow.
my parents were like, "You were at this concert?" I was like, "I sure was. First row, gripping the stage, seeing Fee Waldo Waybill as Quaalude." It was fucking amazing, just an amazing concert. So that was one of those life-changing kind of concerts. Blue Oyster Cult was too, and Heart came a couple of times. We saw them at Miles Field, and the closest I ever got to seeing Zepp was them doing some covers of Zepp. I had a ticket for Zepp in '77 in Seattle, and my parents wouldn't let me go, so I was pretty bummed. We were on a family trip, actually, and I wanted to fly home and go see Zepp. Yeah, like 20 years later, my mom was talking to my siblings at a family reunion and said, "I think Paige is still mad at us about that." Like, as a matter of fact, now you mention it, Mom. But, what are you gonna do? I mean, I got to see some cool shows. So I've seen many of my jazz heroes, which is cool.
Right on. So did school bring you to New York then, or did you go to New York and then wind up at school?
Yeah, I went to college in Eugene and flunked out my first year as a pre-med major and decided I wanted to study music. So my family, mom and dad, stopped splitting college with me. I had to go to the community college because I didn't know how to read music or anything. And I took a year and got my shit together on classical and jazz guitar, and then I auditioned at the university, got in. It took me an extra year to get done because I was behind from my first year of debauchery. Yeah. But after that, I decided I moved to Seattle for a minute, and I auditioned at Cornish Institute, and they accepted me, but they didn't offer a master's program. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to move to New York. And I auditioned at Manhattan School of Music. I flew out and had some friends that were anthropology PhD students there, and I stayed with them and auditioned and got in. I got a little scholarship and a work study, so I'd get up and mop the stage at like 6 a.m. every day and walk from the welfare. I had a welfare hotel room on Broadway and 99th Street called the Clinton Arms. And I ended up getting a job working midnight to 8 a.m. at the door there, which was really interesting for a kid from a small town. But,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I saw some shit, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, it was an interesting interesting learning experience. But yeah, I finished my master's degree in 2 years and just started auditioning for everything, including cover bands. And that's when I discovered Band of Susans and as well as Glenn Branca. And I got into both bands, got into Band of Susans, and they were kind of miffed, or not, Robert wasn't, but Susan for some reason was like, well, we could audition for Glenn. But they played with Reese Chatham, who I also played with. I'm one of the 2 or 3 people that played with both Glenn and Reese, but Glenn admired Reese as a composer, but they couldn't stand each other. So there was this weird East Village political thing that was kind of funny, this drama. So when I left Band of Susans, they banned me from Reese's band.
Oh,
It was
wow.
pretty kind of lame, but we patched things up later. And because Robert was a huge positive influence on me, I learned so much from him, and I love him. Yeah, absolutely love him. And so that's water under the bridge. But it was funny back then. There was this stuff like all the, the band Sonic Youth and Red R and Live Skull and Honeymoon Killers and then Surgery. Started my friend's Surgery and Unsane, and we were kind of that batch of bands coming up.
Yeah.
It was interesting. We never got, we always felt kind of like outsiders, but, we just kind of stayed the course, and the 4 of us believed in what we were doing. So that was, the most important thing.
Yeah.
Well, panned out.
Yeah. Well, didn't Helmet, I don't know if I read this now, but it wasn't like the first Helmet album, essentially just a bunch of songs that you'd written for Susans.
I had written 3 or 4 songs that I presented to Robert. And he said, these are really good, Paige, but they're not right for Band of Susans. Because we were going to make an album. I played on the Love Agenda album. And so I said, hey, I had this 4-track and drum machine writing songs. And that's when I decided I had to form my own band, because I just, obviously I wanted to write and sing. So it was good. I learned from Robert, and he kind of showed me how he works with the 4-track and drum machine. I did basically his home setup. And so I learned so much from him as a producer, so to speak, and writer and band leader. And so I put an ad in the Village Voice,
Right.
which is back then how you would find bands to audition for.
Right.
It was a free paper back then. And I had a friend, Renee Kakuro, who worked at Rockpool, which was a tip sheet back then, a magazine, kind of like CMJ. And she paid for the ad for me. I didn't have a dime to my name. And she paid for the ad for me in the Village Voice. And that's how I found John Stanier.
Huh.
And then she was married to Peter at the time. And I said, what's his guitar playing like? And she said, he's pretty good. So Peter and I became friends. So it was just kind of natural that we would form the band together. We're still friends. I've seen him in Brisbane now. He's married and has kids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it got kind of the point where he couldn't really keep up, because I'm a obsessive practicer. And I think I worked harder than maybe some guitar players, and I just think he just couldn't keep up. It was just got to the point where it was time to move on. So
Yeah.
we're still friendly.
What was the toughest position to fill?
Well, once you find your drummer, you're in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm.
I was just complete, what's kismet. It was just meant to be with John. I mean, he played me some music he had done in a hardcore band in Florida called Jehovah's Sickness, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, this is it. It's like he could groove, but he also had quick hands, and his time was impeccable. So once I had him, we kind of had the core, and then we auditioned. I believe Henry was the 13th person to come in, and it was just a no-brainer. We had a song. I'd written a song called "Born Annoying," which was in 7/8.
Uh-huh.
And so we were trying to teach people this song. And by the time Henry got in, I think it was a couple of days of auditions, we were just tired of teaching him this. It's like 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 da 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 bop 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 bop.
Right.
And it was like, oh, okay. So Henry would just go, "Do you know I want to be your dog?" And he's like, "Yep." So we played that Stooges tune, and just the 3 of us just kind of looked at each other like, "Yep, this is the guy." He had an 8-string Hondo bass.
Oh, wow.
Big wild dreadlocks, and was very quiet, as a person and not as a player. And he just played, he was an incredible musician. Like his feel was out of this world, and he just had he played with such energy and stuff. Henry has a very different sense of time. His time is great, but he plays very much on the back, which was interesting because Stanier pushes, so it created this really great feel, between the 2 of them. It was just really, really fun.
So were you always kind of rocking the clean cut look back then?
You know, I just turned 60 years old. So when, I grew up in the 70s, and long hair was the thing. And I don't remember what year I cut my hair off. I studied abroad when I was 22, and I remember having a hard time with long hair, with living in a cold water flat in Stuttgart, Germany. We had no shower and everything. So I said, you know what, I'm going to cut this off, I think. So I cut it in like 82, 83. I was already over dealing with the long hair.
Yeah.
And John, I think Stanier always had short hair. He's kind of a hardcore kid.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, I don't know. He just had like Beatles mop top. And Henry had dreadlocks when he joined.
Right.
When you're hopping in a van and driving and not knowing when you're going to get a shower or whatever.
Yeah.
I think and it's hot in the summer. I think he just got tired of having this big, like, hot head of like, a hat on his, you know what I mean? One day he just showed up at rehearsal and it was cut off. I didn't say, we're going to have short hair and wear short.
Right.
We were 4 guys schlepping around in a van and playing shows in the summer, and it was like
it's hot.
120 degrees on stage in Florida, and I passed out once on stage in Florida. It was so hot.
Oh God damn!
I had to go outside for 20 minutes and come back and finish the show. So it just kind of happened that way, and I never really thought about image. Like, we're going to play this heavy, aggressive music and have this look. It just didn't even occur to me, because I grew up on records, and there was no MTV, obviously, and you just drop the needle and listen to this song, and I don't need to see hot pants and whatever exploding powder kegs for me to dig something. It just doesn't. I mean, it's cool. I like it. The visual stuff's cool, and I never really liked making music videos, the lip syncing thing or whatever. But it's a cool, I guess, creative form. Whatever. Like, to me, it was just make the music you want to make, just be honest about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of tying in a couple of these things, we just talked about the Stooges and then Image. You played with Bowie, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. What was that like?
That was a lifesaver, to tell you the truth, because I had just left my wife and was partying until 5 p.m. every day, meaning heading out at whatever time I'd be up and about, and out till the next afternoon at 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, doing things that would have killed me if I'd kept at it.
Yeah.
And we had the same business manager, and I was crashing at my manager's on the sofa because my wife had the house in Woodstock and the apartment. And he phoned me. They said, "Can you just stay home for a minute? David Bowie's trying to reach you." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. I think I can fit him in."
Yeah, maybe.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So he phoned and we spoke for a bit, and he asked me when. He asked me what time. I just did an interview with him, and Sweet looking about this, but he's like, "What time do you get up? Be honest." And I said, I usually rally by noon-ish. And he was like, "Well, can you make it to the studio at 11?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. For you, Dave.
No problem. So, yeah, it was cool. I had to learn. It was hard. I had to learn 30 songs.
Oh yeah.
In 2 weeks.
Wow.
You're covering a lot of guitar sounds, material from Ziggy and Diamond Dog through Tin Machine, and so a lot of guitar players with different things.
No, that wouldn't be intimidating.
Yeah, it was great. I learned a lot, and it was kind of an emergency situation because he and Reeves had just been through a rough patch, and Reeves was kind of spinning out of control, and so after 13 years, it was time for them to part ways. And Reeves is a good friend of mine. I had seen him play years earlier, or actually I'd seen him before he was with Bowie at the Knitting Factory, the old Knitting Factory on Houston in New York, with David Tronzo, another amazing guitar player. So I was a fan, and he's just a great guy. He's completely got his shit together now and made it through that phase of his life, and he was cool about it. He's like, "I'm so happy it's you."
Oh wow.
That you filled in, and it made me feel really good.
Yeah,
he's just a sweetheart.
Yeah, it's such a shame to have lost him, but boy, I'm glad you got to have that experience. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Really cool.
Yeah.
Helmet had done during the Dead to the World recording. We recorded a bunch of covers, which we thought were coming out the next year, and then the year after that, and the year after that. But there's just some kind of going around in circles with our record label folks who are really, really nice, but it's hard for them to make money. So it's been delayed, but we're finally going to release these cover songs on 7 inches. And one of them was a Bowie cover that we did that I'm really happy with, called, the song Move On from Lodger?
I
It's always been one of my all-time favorite, kind of less popular. I don't think it was a single or anything, but it's such a cool song with this like double time acoustic guitar and this wild percussion drum stuff and these phenomenal, like, I hope we did it justice, but choir, the backing vocals are just like, wow, how the hell did he do this?
Yeah.
Like, how did he think of this shit?
Right.
It's just so fucking genius. So yeah, it was really fun. And we're going to do a tour. We just started talking about it, covers tour. Bowie did that Pinups album where he did cover songs. And I thought that was so cool. And we're going to do a tour where we play, bands that have influenced us. We've done more than 15 or so covers over the years for various, like Music for a Mother Ocean. We did the Bjork cover. The Michael Stipe put out a pro-choice CD. We did Killing Joke. I don't know. We've done a bunch of covers for various things. We've done 2 Sabbath covers, one for the Jerky Boys movie. The other one, I can't remember what it was for.
We had Chris Connolly on a while back.
Oh, no way. Cool.
Yeah, he's in a Bowie cover band, Sons of the Silent Age. Boy, if anybody can nail that voice.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it's incredible.
That's so funny. They asked me to do a remix of one of his songs. This was before I didn't understand the concept of remix. I thought it just meant just mix it the way I would mix it.
You're right.
So they gave us these tapes that were all, it was like 24-track 2-inch tape, and there was a bunch of shit erased and missing. I'm like, this shit's all fucked up. And I happened to be in Australia, like thousands and thousands of miles away, and I had like a half a day to do this track. I had to find a studio and a good engineer, and so yeah, we ended up. I've never even heard it since. I just remember it was like something poison dripping gently or something like that. It was. I don't know what band it was that he was in. I had met him when we toured with Ministry.
Oh, yeah.
He would do I believe he sang on a couple of the show. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he was really nice.
Yeah, he was a singer on like So What and some of their more popular tracks. Like the Mind's Terrible Thing to Taste. He did double tracks off that. And yeah, just that whole kind of Revco Wax Tracks crew. They all kind of intermingled there. Yeah,
really nice dude. So
absolutely. So you like the production work?
I do, yeah. Surprisingly, I think if that was all I did, maybe I'd burn out. But I think that could be said of any sort of music channel. If you're only doing one thing all the time, maybe you burn out. But since I do a wide variety of stuff, from producing to I'm just finishing up a movie score for a movie called Painted Beauty right now, and then I got a commission to write a piece, orchestral/band piece for Christian Brothers High School in Memphis, the oldest high school band in the country. 150th anniversary is coming up, and then I'll produce stuff, and I'm actually working with kids too, doing these clinics, and I've done little rock camps and stuff. And so I think when you do a lot of different things, it makes it fun. And being a songwriter and singer, guitar player who produces his own music, you learn so much over the years. And I've seen when I've been working with other artists, I learn a lot by being on the other side of the mic, so to speak. And it's really fun. There are moments when you want to strangle people.
Right.
And there are times where you're just like, you're making a mistake here. Trust me. Because my goal is never commercial. My goal is to make the music the best it can be. So I try to find, like, if there are 2 or 3 or 10 things that are cool about a song and get rid of the stuff that I think is not cool. So it's always about just making music that I think is good.
Right.
In some bands, they're young and their A&R person is in their ear, or their manager or whatever, and they just make dumb mistakes. I'm like, trust me, you have to live with this music the rest of your life.
Right.
They don't. If it fails and you did something that you don't believe in, then you're stuck with this. And I had this conversation with my friend Tommy Victor from Prong, because we toured together, because Tommy and Mike Kirkland from Prong were working the night we auditioned at CBGB's. So we were talking, and he said to me, man, I just admire the way you never, even when you signed to a major label, you never veered off course. He said, I tried to fit in and do something commercial, and I don't know, I'm not familiar with the music they did then, but he said he didn't like it. I just didn't know any other way. And I try to say to bands, do what you believe in. in, man.
Right.
Even if you have to battle people a little bit at the label, and you inevitably, every single time you do something that you don't believe in because you think you're trying to please somebody or trying to achieve some kind of commercial success, you fuck yourself.
Right.
And you can hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can hear it. I was talking about this recently. Like if you're listening to the radio, man, I'm just hearing formula rock so much when I'm listening to the radio anymore that I rarely listen to the radio anymore.
Yeah. It's got to be dissatisfying. I mean, how many swimming pools can you build?
Right.
I'm not a millionaire or whatever, and we're not like a household name and aren't like, but I'm still making music that I love and still getting to tour the world 31 years later. So I feel like if I'm honest with myself and I do stuff that I believe in, and then I can sleep at night. And look, there's stuff I'm like, what the hell was I singing about on that song?
Sure.
Some of my experiments, the stream of conscious, like Robert Post told me, he's like, I'll write a line on a piece of paper and put it on the floor. Write another line, and I'll have pieces of paper scattered around the living room floor, and they put a song together like that. And I go, that's a great idea. So I'm up for trying anything. And there are times when I'm like, I'm referring to something that's referring to something that's referring to something.
Right.
Because I'm trying to hide things from my now ex-wife, and I'm trying to sing something about her without her figuring it out.
Right.
Whatever the fuck it is.
Right.
And, it works as a melodic fragment or rhythmic fragment or whatever, but sometimes you're like, well, I don't know what it means, man. I don't know what I'm singing about. I'm not nothing.
Yeah.
It's kind of the equivalent of arranging refrigerator word magnets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Seinfeld, the show about nothing. This is a song about nothing.
Right.
What are you singing about? Well, why does it have to be about anything?
Yeah.
And I got more narrative later. I kind of discovered Elvis Costello late.
Mm.
I knew him, but I didn't really dig into his music till much later. And I'm like, oh man, this is how you write a song. And so over the years, is the more life experience you have and the more books you read and the more records you listen to, and you're influenced by things. So hopefully your writing is constantly this sort of process of, I don't know, personal and artistic transformation, I guess. I don't know. Like I'm gonna do another Hellman album, and we're talking about it now, and I can keep notes over the years, and I'll write things down, and I'm always curious to see what's going to come out.
Yep. Well, God, not only that, I was checking out earlier your gallery and your artwork.
Oh, cool.
Man, that was really fascinating to me. So I'm trying to wrap my brain around how this works. Can you explain a little bit? It's like with the light gloves and
those things. Yeah, that particular project was, I met these guys through my friend Chris Trainer. His cousin is a photographer. And he said, these guys are doing this project and they'd be very interested in working with you. So we got together for drinks and chicken wings one night, and they had this idea. And I said, how about if we do like a sort of historical document, a painting, and it's my life. So I have a picture of me and my mother holding me the year I was born, 1960, in front of this big gas tank at the motel we were staying at the time on a road trip. And we built this whole sort of collage around that with my friends Ravi Desage and Corey Danziger. And they were just really great to work with, the artistically talented guys. And I just had these ideas. So they had this thing, they were working with drummers. They put these lights, I guess, on their drumsticks. And I wonder if we could do it with a guitarist. So I was the guinea pig. I don't know if they've done it with any other guitarists yet, but they made these gloves and stitched copper wiring into the fingertips and then hooked up batteries, 9-volt batteries, to the bridge of the guitar to the string. So there'd be like a couple of volts, running through each string. And then the glove had primary colored lights on the left hand. And while I play, it would track my playing. And we were in a pitch black garage. We took 650 photos or whatever.
Cool.
And just start going through them and going like, wow, it's completely random, but not.
Right.
And it was really interesting. And then Ravi, the real artist, he could go in and highlight colors or change them and essentially paint with what we had. So that's what it turned out. Actually, the 7-inch covers, the cover songs are all that artwork laid out by our artist friend in Melbourne, Australia, Richard De Silva. So those will be, we're now just talking about putting that out, hopefully before the end of the year, as a box set, but with that artwork. So yeah, I love that. Really fun project. We're kind of talking about maybe doing something else because that's the second project we've done. And love those guys, man. They're so creative.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I mean, I was just looking at some of it today, and it's like, well, and also reasonably priced, I got to tell you, people.
PageHamiltonArt.com, right? Still,
Yeah.
I just checked it yesterday for another link.
It's cool as hell, and it's like when you read the story behind each one, it's like this captures this riff in this song.
Yeah, it's all musical ideas. I think like one piece is called Flaming Telepaths after the Blue Oyster Cult song. Mm-hmm. Fandango after ZZ Top. Yeah. Black Dog, Led Zepp, obviously.
Oh, cool.
Coltrane, Interstellar Space.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was kind of trying to figure out how that worked exactly.
Yeah, it was really ingenious, man. It's like these guys are just so creative and ingenious. It was really fun.
So what other art projects am I missing out on?
Well, the one prior to that was called, I did the piece Close to Home.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Which was the canvas where we built a collage and put on a big giant canvas. And then I painted with these paint pens and brushes lyrics. So if you bought a piece, it'd be like, I want the song Sinatra on there. And then I would put big handprints in colored paints on there, and I would sort of add my stuff. It's basically like a 4-year-old doodling on a really beautiful giclée collage that Ravi put together. What I did is I went through family photos that my mom and dad had. My parents were both still alive at the time, and they had shoe boxes of old photos, and there was some Polaroids and some I love the look of those photos.
Oh, yeah.
The Betty album cover was inspired by that. Led Zeppelin Presence cover, that era of Americana.
That patina.
The 60s kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And we just pulled a lot of cool photos together. So I have my siblings and grandparents and mom and dad are in the canvas. Ravi put it all together. We did other things. We reversed a photo of my skull and I'm the moon. It's cool. It's so much fun.
I'm pulling it up right now, actually. I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Is that like a childhood picture? Is that you as an infant?
That's me. Yeah, that's my mom. That's my beautiful mom in 1960. And that big gas tank thing was out back of a motel. We were in Oregon somewhere, maybe driving to see my grandparents or aunt and uncle or so, I don't know, to see the new baby. And that's where they decided to take the first photo of me. I thought it was awesome. I was like, yeah, here's a nice, I don't know, whatever natural gas tank outside of this hotel. We're gonna take a picture of our son, with his little bonnet on. He got the little hat. It was pretty. I think I'm wearing a hat in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. It was awesome. My parents are awesome. That would have been 1960. And there's a picture of my pops with the ever-present cigarette in front of the motel. My brother and I were born in Portland. We moved to Medford in 63, and Sis was born in 64. We lived in a motel that my parents had taken out a loan and bought for $2,000, and so we lived in the office.
Oh,
so that's the motel. It's still standing in Medford on Riverside, in the downtown. It's kind of unfortunately a sort of meth area. Yeah. Now, kind of we call it Medford. So if you want to,
yeah, I've heard that one before. Yeah. Actually,
yeah, it's a little downtrodden. They're trying to clean it up and stuff, but it's pretty creepy. There's a motel there where there's drug addicted hookers, and it's really fucked up.
Yeah, that's sad.
Back in 1963, that's where we lived.
Matt and I both come from the Ozarks, so
we relate.
Oh,
yeah.
The hills are just smaller. It sounds about the same, though.
Yeah, a beautiful region.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. The countryside is amazing. Same in Oregon. Yeah, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love going home. I have a few friends there. Since mom and dad have both passed, we have no real family ties to Medford anymore. Right. But I have a couple of my dear friends that I grew up with are still there. So I love going. I'll actually be heading up there at some point at the end of the summer. It's always nice. The natural beauty there is
oh, yeah,
incredible. And it's come a long ways. I did rock camps there for the Brit Festival, and there is culture. There's the 100-year-old classical Brit Festival in Jacksonville, which is on the west side of the valley, and then the Shakespeare Festival, which is one of the biggest in the world.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In Ashland, Oregon. It's a great university there in Ashland, which is a cool liberal town. It's kind of a little liberal bastion.
Yeah. Kind
of like Nashville, I guess, would be a little slightly liberal bastion surrounded by conservatives. So.
Yeah.
We know all about that too, Missouri.
Yeah.
You got 3 little islands. It's like a Blue Island in St. Louis.
Yeah.
One here where I live in Columbia, and then one where Matt lives in Kansas City.
Yeah.
The rest is all the Red Sea.
It's a deep, deep red right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Deep red.
Curious to see what happens in November.
If we make it.
Yeah. I'm terrified.
I am too. Yeah, I am too. Actually, I just don't understand the hatred. I just don't understand how polarized we are.
Paired with like the willful ignorance.
I used to be able to have a conversation with someone that had different, beliefs than me, and I just feel like you can't anymore. It's gotten so bad.
I've gotten to a point where I have a lot of family that, that's them.
Yeah.
And I've started inviting them, like, I kind of live in the hood. You should come stay with me for a little while. Come on up.
Yeah.
I will introduce you to a world that you cannot envision.
Yeah.
I will introduce you to people. I will make sure they will be nice to you.
Yeah.
I will talk to them first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're human beings, people. It is an entire world. It's not like we own some shit. It's like white America. It never was.
Right.
What are we talking about here? I just watched that alt-right Age of Rage documentary.
Oh yeah, I've got that queued up. I was going to watch.
Yeah, man. Oh man. Can't we have intelligent discourse about this, people?
No, we've gotten to this stage of willful ignorance that is really disturbing.
Yeah, it's scary to me. I'll never forget. I'm on a label called Rope-a-Dope in New York City. Guys I played in a band with in Brooklyn in the 80s called Pros and Cons. They formed a band called Malumbo about the time Helmet started. Mm-hmm. I always loved what they did, so we made an album together called Malumbo and Page Hamilton, and it's on Rope-a-Dope. And so on Juneteenth, since like half the people on the label are African American, we had a Zoom conference, and it was so emotional, man. I like hearing the stories from these amazing musicians, DJ Logic and David McMurray, and these phenomenal, Anu's son, and the stuff they've been through, like, as an 11-year-old kid getting thrown in jail for 3 days and his parents not being informed that he was in jail, and Detroit, and just the shit. I was crying. I had to turn my camera off because just you hear these stories, but I had to think back to the first time I was aware of what racism was. We were kids, and the big family trip was to go to Portland every year, the big city, and there was an ice skating rink at the Lloyd Center in Northeast Portland on Weidler, and so we got to ice skate, and I was skating around, and I'm gonna guess it was 69, 70, so say I'm like 9 years old, and this little black kid was younger than me, maybe 6 inches shorter, and he was fumbling, stumbling, rumbling, and so I saw him, and he looked at me with this pleading look. Yeah, help. So I reached out. He put his arm around me, and I put my arm under his pit, and we were skating around. I just remember laughing our asses off, and it was an older kid helping a younger kid. And I remember looking up and seeing everybody in the mall looking at us, and I just was like, I had this sense that I was doing something that wasn't right, and I'd say I'm 9 or whatever, and it just stuck with me. I'll never forget it. And me and this kid, I just like, this is just a kid I wasn't even a good ice skater, but I was getting around a little better than he was. It's just, it's weird. You look back, and we had a crew guy who we loved, Brandon from Minneapolis, and it didn't matter where we were on tour. It's like, oh, pull the black guy, frisk the black guy, pull the black guy. Oh, we're waiting for Brandon. He's getting frisked. New Zealand, Poland, didn't matter where we were. It's a worldwide problem. I mean, but our country is particularly scary. Yeah. Just never understood it. Never understood. Just never understood why.
Right. And so many of us just cover our eyes to it. Oh, no. All lives matter.
Yep.
Yeah. I just read some tweet. Some woman said, oh, they have the same opportunities we have. Oh, my God. Where the fuck, what rock have you been under? Give me a fucking break, man.
Oh, shit. Yeah. It's been illegal for them to read.
Yeah. Among the many documentaries and things I've been watching since I'm a big jazz nerd, I watched the Miles Birth of the Cool, and I'd known the story about him getting beat up by the cops, but I didn't know the details. And he was having a cigarette out in front of the gig. I believe the gig was at Birdland. And here's this guy who just had a huge hit with Kinda Blue. He was top of the world, like world famous musician, having a cigarette in between sets outside in his break, and the cop said, "I'm moving along," and Miles like, "What? Yeah, I'm not moving along. I'm having a cigarette." And he's like, "That's my name on the marquee right there." And he was like, "I don't care what you say. I'm just having a cigarette." And he got clubbed with a billy club from behind, like sucker punched, knocked out by a cop, and taken to jail. And you're like, "What?
How does that happen?" Yeah.
What the fuck? And he said he was never the same. And
Right.
He said that was in New York City. He said I could have seen that happen in East St. Louis where he grew up, but not in New York City.
That's the famous photo too, right?
When he's got they got the blood and he's with his beautiful wife Frances at the cop station. Yeah, man, it's like, God damn. Read a story. There's a book called The Bird Lives about Charlie Parker talking about a curfew for black people in the South, and they were staying at friend's house because they couldn't stay in a hotel, and they had a screened-in porch, which was technically apparently outside, but it's screened in, part of this house, a private house, and the cops arrested him and took him to jail, beat him up because they were out past curfew. Yeah. They're on a private house and on a porch, screened in. A curfew for grown men, first of all. Like, God, I don't know. Don't get me started.
Well, and I mean, I was born in 74, so I'm a little younger.
Youngster.
I'm a puppy. But, my mom grew up still in a sundown town in southern Illinois, and I can remember, I don't know when they took the sign down, but I think I can remember being all the way up until the mid-'80s.
My father told me, we went to see the Harlem Globetrotters in Medford, Oregon, and I was a kid. I loved basketball, and my dad did too.
Yeah.
And I said, Dad, can we go to their hotel and meet them? Right. And he's like, well, son, they have to leave town after the
dark.
And I was like, because they had this fucking sundown law.
Wow.
That's the first time I heard of that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
They can't stay here. They got to drive to California. I was like, I wanted to meet Meadowlark and Curly. I mean, it was in my junior high gym. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And they had to stay out of town. That's just insane.
Oh yeah. The sign was, it had a stylized cartoon blackface, African American out there, of course, and said, N-word, don't let the sun set on your black ass.
Oh my God.
They eventually took it down, but I mean, good grief, I can remember seeing that sign when I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, it's painful, man.
You're talking like 84, 87, somewhere still hung in that little town in southern Illinois.
Wow. We're a long ways from right, man. We have so much to do.
Right. And so many people, they can't understand how you can endorse that even if you weren't the one that put up the sign.
Right.
You still endorsed it.
Yeah.
You didn't stand up and say, yes, this should come down. You were just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
The law is they should have their ass out of town. I'm not a racist, right? I'm just thinking they should follow the law.
Yeah. Wow.
How many times we heard that?
Jesus.
Well, they've just been following directions. They just comply. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. Here we are, all of us fans of music, and I feel so proud of the rock and roll, the blues, jazz, music that changed the world. These guys, these alt-right guys, which are just Nazis, basically. It's just they're just Nazis wearing a button-down shirt with a college diploma.
Right.
Like, you want an all-white country? Wow. Okay. Jared Taylor, I believe, is the American Renaissance guy, and the other piece of shit is Richard. Shit, what the fuck is his name? It doesn't matter. Anyway, he's the alt-right guy. They were in Charlotte's.
Oh yeah, the T. George Charlie,
Virginia, when that piece of shit ran his car and killed that woman and injured 12 people.
Oh my God! And how many times has that happened lately?
Yeah.
God,
ever since George Floyd. I mean, it just seems like somebody's driving through a crowd everywhere. It happened here.
Where are you guys?
I'm in Columbia, Missouri. Maybe 100,000 people in our county, but it's college town,
Right.
Yeah. We played Columbia. That's a cool little town.
Yeah.
It's a good town. I lived there for 8 years.
Yeah.
I think something like that. And I'm living in Kansas City right now. So just a couple hours down the road.
Yeah. I love KC too, man. My computer screensaver is Charlie Parker. The only horn that we know he played that exists still is that plastic horn he played 2 gigs with or 3 gigs with at the Negro Leagues Baseball and Jazz Museum.
Yeah, Jazz Museum. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been there?
Yeah. So this was Kismet. This was a higher power at work. I had a kind of crackhead friend from Omaha who drove up your car, and I like the passenger seat was like a lawn chair. And I was like, it was kind of petrified, but I needed a lift out there because it was so far from where we were staying at the hotel. So she took me out there, and I walked in. I main reason to see Bird's Horn. I know they had other stuff in there, but I walked in and it had been out being renovated, refurbished because they had ants in the display. And I walked in the day they were reinstalling it. And so there's the horn in the case sitting on the floor, and my heart leapt. And the guy is wearing these white gloves, and he saw me with tears in my eyes, and he asked me if I wanted to hold the horn, which I did.
Oh, wow.
He asked me if I wanted to, and I held the case that I would think Bird's hand was on.
Sure.
And helped him reinstall it. So if you go see that sax in there, that big piece of plexiglass, the cover, I put that up with him.
Huh.
I was meant to be there on that day.
That's cool.
Yeah.
My phone screensaver is me with the Bird statue out back. That's a pretty amazing museum. I love Kansas City, man. I think it's great. You know, I mean, obviously the music that I love, part of the development of the music with Lester Young and those guys, you know, was from that era of the lawless 20s when that, you know, mafia run, and there were clubs going all night, and a 15-year-old Charlie Parker could sneak in to hear Lester Young or whatever.
Right. It was a super corrupt town, but it opened up a lot of possibilities musically.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It pushed the art forward. Thank goodness for that. That's I love it. We had a great time there. Played the Riot Room last time for the 30 by 30 by 30 tour. I love that place.
Yeah, I love that town. I don't get there often. Well, don't get anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
Oh God, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm going nuts.
Yeah.
Well, someday when you come through, we definitely want to come see you.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah. We're talking about the next U.S. run next May, I think, is what we're looking at. We just started talking about the idea for the tour. So, yeah, I'm chomping at the bit. We can't, as I said, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, this Europe run, the U.S. We just canceled South America in October. So I'm just like, please, I want dying to play.
Yeah.
Well, besides your gallery, everything else like that, where else can fans go help you out, buy some shit? Because you're not going to be there. So spend your money on merch and shit.
Well, helmetmusic.com is our website, and that's been updated. That's pretty cool. The pagehamiltonmusic.com site we were about to start working on and went through this pandemic, and then some people were let go for financial reasons that work with our management company. And so we're just kind of trying to sort that out. But I actually haven't told anyone yet, but since I've been for like the last 20 years, people have asked me, I've done clinics all over the world, which I really love. Then School of Rock asked me, I did a couple of Q&As, and they said, hey, would you be into like doing some classes? And I'm like, I would love to, because I've done rock camps with kids. So I'm going to do like songwriting, band kind of stuff starting in September with the kids. But then they said, how would you be with private lessons? Because people have asked me for years, and like actually the guitar player from Maroon 5 asked me, and the guitar player from Queen, like, can I get guitar lessons? And I was like, nah, come on.
Wow.
You guys don't need guitar lessons or whatever. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. My mentor, my hero mentor, John Stoll, told me like 10 years ago, he was like, Paige, you do a lot of different stuff. You need to be sharing this with people. So I decided I'm kind of having a friend helping me out because I'm an idiot businessman, helping me set this online. That's like email is like pagehamiltonlessons@gmail.com. I haven't announced it yet. I gave a couple lessons to my friend's kid, which is really, really fun. And so yeah, I'm going to do that. You can email me at that email, pagehamiltonlessons@gmail. I have some writing to do to finish this movie and this piece for the Christian Brothers High School. And I have a project with Thomas Lang, the great drummer, that I have to get going because we're going to record in Japan next year and stuff. But so if I did like 10 people a week, it could be pretty cool, pretty fun. We have a great artist that we work with in Australia who did the Dead to the World album cover, and he does a lot of our T-shirt and poster designs. And he hosted me for a clinic, and he's been pressing me and has some ideas for what I could do to share some things. Because I do a fair amount of movie work still. I do about 3 movies a year just as a guitarist. And he said, how about we share that stuff? And I'm like, okay. So I have like 4 pedal boards set up and, wall of guitars and I call it my shit sculpting. Like I played on the Wire album, and that's what they said. What do you want us to call it, Paige? It's not really guitar. And I said, just call it shit sculpting. And they're like, how about Sonic Revelations or something? I'm like, whatever. Yeah. So I played, I did on Watt's program today. We played a lot of the film stuff I've done with Elliot Goldenthal, from Heat and In Dreams to Titus and The Tempest, and this movie called Inherit the Viper. And it's fun. It's fun stuff. And so, yeah, I'm going to kind of start doing that. So if anybody is interested, I think the first 10 people that sign up, I'm going to do that. It's on either Zoom or I did FaceTime yesterday. That works pretty well. But Zoom or what's the other one? House Party.
There's even like a Google
Is there a Google one as well?
Yeah, Google Meets, I think it's called.
We do Zoom hangs with the label with Rope-A-Dope. I've done 3 of them, and it's amazing. I've met so many amazing artists. You know, there might be 30, 40 of us around the world get on there, but I love it. I love feeling connected because we're so isolated, and I'm going nuts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just start to question my existence. You know, I didn't realize how tied into live performing my soul is, you know?
Yeah.
Right. We're hearing from a lot of different artists that like, this is the longest break I've ever taken. I don't know what to do with myself.
It is for me for 30. Well, I mean, the Helmet hiatus for 7 years sucked, but the good news is I got the Bowie gig and I did Joe Henry album and a Ben Neal shows, and I had Gandhi, my band Gandhi. So it wasn't 7 years off. So I had stuff, but Helmet is my main creative sort of release. And I missed it so much for those 7 years singing Helmet songs because there's nothing like it. You know, it's just it's its own kind of genre, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it's great. We're super excited. We're Helmet fans, but we're just in general music fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. People are always surprised that I do a bunch of different things. And I have some friends that get it. And other friends that I work with. My friend Angela McCluskey, she's like, you play jazz, but you're in Helmet. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you think Helmet's like lunkhead rock? I mean, it's actually like if you try to play I Know, and it's in 6 against 4, and then there's a turnaround with a measure of 7. I don't think of it like that. I just play it, but it's not like, we're not talking about, ham fist music. Right. It's not easy. Yeah. Some people just don't, which is, I want it to sound simple. I always said I'd rather be perceived as a bunch of truck drivers playing music than a bunch of brainy guys or whatever trying to be clever, because I don't think it's I love AC/DC, and that's deceptive too, because the groove is so deep, and it's
right.
These things like the turnaround on Highway to Hill with Phil comes in and you're like, whoa, oh man, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Some people don't hear that subtlety.
Yeah, but the groove is there, the swing is there. You hear those different elements, and it's definitely not like it.
I became friends with Danny Korchmar, a great guitarist, producer, and because he heard Helmet, and he asked my publisher, who was his publisher, if we could meet. So we had lunch. And he brought Steve Jordan, the great drummer and bass player, who works with Keith Richards, among many, many other people, to our show. And then T.M. Stevens, who played with Miles and James Brown and stuff. He described it to me. You guys, it's like a big ball of ice cream, and then you dig in, and there's spinach inside. it's like this stuff. He's like, this is deep, And I'm like, I love that description. And these are like serious cats. Steve Jordan is like, you guys are heavy band of white boys that swing. He's like, you guys swing. He's like, the heavy band. It's like, yeah, it's not straight A, that's for sure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But
we just had on Rob Bochnick. I don't know if you're familiar with the Frames or Glenn Hansard.
Yeah, I know of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so Rob's a buddy of mine, and he did a project called the Butcher Shop Quartet, and they covered Stravinsky. And it's just amazing, and he's a shredder.
Awesome.
That unfortunately they got a cease and desist.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Why?
Apparently in Europe it's still under copyright.
Well, that's too bad.
But you can hear snippets of it on Bandcamp, and it's awesome.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. I like the Bad Plus too. They've done pop songs, jazz style. What was a classical piece they did? I can't. Of course, I can draw it in blank. Did you guys know the Bad Plus from Minneapolis?
Maybe. I don't think I do.
No.
Yeah, they're great, man. You should check them out.
All right.
That kind of leads to the next question I had was, who should we be checking out right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the worst. I'm the absolute worst. I'm an old fart. Since I play jazz every morning and every day in a great parts of my day. So today I listened to John Coltrane for the about millionth time because I'm figuring out how to transpose that song Spiral off Giant Steps, and I'm foolishly trying to play Countdown, which I never thought I would, but I don't know. I just feel like we have this downtime. I'm like, why not tackle impossible music? So I've been a lot on Train, and then I'm kind of also on this Jerry Reed kick, and then Waylon and Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
So I'll watch an interview. I'll watch an interview with Waylon on the Letterman show, and then I'll dig into a couple of tunes and figure out some chords. And then Jerry Reed is freaking me out right now. I can't believe that guy was such a badass, and he was so humble, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Willie was one of the first ones that I discovered because my dad liked country, so I didn't like it growing up.
Of course,
because it meant mom's perfume and dad's cigarettes and car sick.
Yeah.
You know, because we're driving through windy roads in Oregon, and I was like, I gotta puke, Dad. And as I got older and started appreciating it, I worked in a movie theater in college, and we showed Honeysuckle Rose, and I was like, this guy's amazing.
he is. Yeah.
And I've seen Willie 3 times. I saw Willie and Waylon together. I saw Merle. So I just go through phases where I'll listen to somebody for like 2 weeks straight, and I go through these monk phases, and a lot of jazz messengers this week because. I watched the Lee Morgan documentary. I called him Morgan. You know, his wife murdered him, shot him in the stomach at a gig in the East Village. And I always knew him, and I've listened to his music, and I've even figured out parts of his solos on Blue Train or whatever, the Train album. But then I'll go back and listen to the music with new ears, fresh ears, like Ugetsu and Monin, those albums that he was on. And so, I got to go through that. I'm really bad with new music. If somebody sends me stuff, I check it out. I produced a band in Marseille, South France, called the Rescue Rangers, and I've produced their last 2 albums. I'm proud of that because they were pretty raw when they came to me, and I was like, oh boy. But I heard something in there, and I said, okay, you must now stop listening to the Foo Fighters. No more Foo Fighters, because you sound like you're trying to be French Foo Fighters. We don't need that. I kind of turned them on to a lot of different music, everything from Killing Joke, Wire and Gang of 4 to The Birthday Party, and other stuff that some of the younger dudes will know Fugazi, but they don't know where it came from,
Right.
Because Eddie Vedder loves Fugazi. So it's people will know Fugazi or the Pixies, but they don't know the music that inspired those of us that are that age in those bands. Yeah, I still go listen to that. And what have I done this week? I figured out the Clifford Brown Max Roach intro to Joy Spring, and I also figured out the Joe Pass solo guitar intro to Joy Spring. So I'm trying to play that guitar song on the guitar solo, which is stupid because it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's fun. That's what I do. So when I should be working.
Well, it is working.
It's working. Playing along, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's constructive and positive, but I'm like, I have a rewrite on a cue for the movie, and the producers in the studio are dragging their asses so bad, and they're just so scummy. I've kind of put it on the back burner. We're basically done with the score, but now they want to recut the movie. I'm like, we just wrote 85 minutes worth of music. What are you talking about? You're going to cut the movie now?
Yeah. So
I'll put that on the back burner, any rewrites that I have to do. But I'm proud of the project. It's called Painted Beauty. If it ever comes out,
right.
The director, Rob Pryor, did an amazing job. He's an artist I've worked with. I met 10, 12, 13 years ago. We did some stuff together. We did a little short film called Death Delivery that helped him get this movie deal. And now we have some other movies lined up with hopefully a producer studio team that are easier to work with, so to speak, and don't mind paying us. Hey, we work for hire, not for free.
Right.
Yeah.
Musicians, we're always the last ones paid. I did these huge movies called The Kissing Booth. 1 and 2 is going to come out soon. We're starting on 3 here pretty soon, the music. And it's Netflix. They're billions, gazillions of dollars. Well, everybody's on the union contract except for us.
Yeah.
So I can't get my health insurance through my union because they won't pay our union. It's frustrating. Musicians, we're like the embarrassing stepchildren. They need us, but they don't want to pay us.
Right.
It's really frustrating. It's 2020 and we're still dealing with this shit.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
I do a million different things to cobble together an existence, and I knock on wood, I feel very fortunate, but at the same time, sometimes I wish we get paid what we're worth. I will work hard and do good work, but I just like to get paid for it. So
yeah, absolutely, and you deserve that.
Yeah.
So we want to help out if we can.
Yes, check out all those websites. Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it so much. Really fun.
So we don't want to keep you all night, man, but boy, we appreciate you coming on. I had a good time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys.